Morning, students. Once again, welcome to virtual session wherein we are discussing about the concept of pedagogy of school subject, that is English, in which we are trying to understand the concept of basic skills of English language. So, in the previous class, what we have studied? Can anybody tell which skill you have studied? Hello. You can unmute yourself and you can tell me which skill you have recently studied. In the previous class, which skill you have studied?
Speaking.
Still, there is no surety. You are not that sure. Yes, we have studied about the speaking skill. Now, the third important skill, that is reading skill, we are going to study today. Okay. So, listening and speaking are over, and the next important skill that I am going to discuss in front of you is about reading ability. Dear students, as you know that listening will be lay a very good foundation for the development of other skills in learning any language is considered. In the same way, speaking also is considered as one of the productive skill, which is considerably learned by the learner by a proper phase of time. The next important concept that we need to study, which needed to be understood from the point of learning a language is considered. If you wish to get a complete and comprehensive information about any language in the world is considered, so that can be learned through the help of listening, speaking, reading, and writing. So as we have already come to know about what is listening and what is speaking, now today in the today's class we shall study about the third important subtopic of unit number 1, that is acquisition of language skills. So today we are going to learn about reading skill. What all I am going to discuss in this class, if possible, I would like to, or else just some part of this particular reading skill we shall study. So first, let us try to understand what is reading ability or what is reading skill. Next, we shall see about sub skills of reading, importance of oral and silent reading in English. What is the importance? Why oral reading is also given as well as silent reading? What is intensive reading and extensive reading? What does they mean? What is skimming and scanning in reading ability? What are the methods of teaching oral reading to the learners? What are the ways of developing reading and study skills, including dictionary, encyclopedia? So these sub points are supposed to be discussed in the present class, entitled as understanding the concept of reading skill. Okay. Yes, let's start. Students, as I said, reading is one of the important ability, which is again equally important like listening and speaking. We can't say that which skill is too good, which is that not important. All skills are equally important, students, because if you are too good in listening ability, if you are lacking in the area of reading skill, then somehow you are going to miss lot many good elements as per the development of other skills are considered, students. So meanwhile, how we used to give preferences for developing listening ability as well as speaking skill, in the same way there is a need, there is an essence for developing comprehensive nature among the learner, that is through the help of ability of reading a skill. When as a teacher you motivate the learner as to be a good reader in the classroom, then automatically the students falls in love with reading skill. If they are too good, if they got a proficiency over learning reading skill, then definitely students, it will become one of the important instrument for those learners to become a proficient speaker, reader, writer, as well as listener. So all these four skills are equally important. I am stressing again and again, all four skills are equally important, students, as to develop any language in the world is considered. If as we are all talking about the development of how do we develop English language among the learners, first of all, as a teacher, I must be very good at reading ability, so that I can inspire, I can motivate, I can attract the learners towards that ability. If as a teacher, as a role model, if I fail to convince the best from my side as per my reading ability is considered, so automatically that will distract, that will disturb, that will not create good positive attitude among the learners towards learning ability of reading students. One small quote I would like to just discuss as to get up to start a good initiation for the understanding the concept of reading students. A little reading is all the therapy a person needs sometimes. So most of the times, whenever we used to get stressed, distressed, or when we are surrounded by some of the frustrations, conflicts, or worries of our own life, personal life, family life, social life, economic life, educational life. So to overcome those all issues, those all tensions, what we need is sometime there is a need of the ability of reading. Reading will definitely reflect your thoughts. It will enhance your knowledge. So don't think that reading is only a part of the learning process. After getting a job, if you have the habit of reading good literature of any language, definitely that will helpful for improvement of your knowledge. You can enhance your knowledge. You can well equip with number of information throughout the world. What is all happening? Even if you have the habit of reading newspaper also, you are going to get lot many things. You are going to get to know about what is all happening in and around. So from that point of view, reading is to be considered in psychology as one of the best therapy which every person need in some period of their time. When we are in a very conflict stage, when we are unable to take firm decisions, in such situation also, by reading a particular novel or a prose or a poetry or any important source or a drama or a comedy or a tragedy or any source of literature, maybe newspaper, magazine, periodical, okay, encyclopedia, dictionary. So by reading something, even nowadays internet information, okay, lot many information is available to the help of different sources of internet. So any form you can do, any form you can follow, but that type of reading will definitely enhance the one who is reading, isn't it? That is what it is known as one of the important therapy for a person who needs some time. Reading is to be reading is the mind what exercise is to the body. Joseph used to say that what is actually reading. So how exercise is good for a body as to keep activate ourselves. In the same way, what we read is for a mind to refresh our thoughts. What we require is reading ability. So by keeping these points in our mind, we will come to know that how important reading is. Let's study what actually it is. Okay, as I said, what is reading? It is the cognitive process of decoding symbols to derive meaning from text. So there are three important aspects that we need to understand for a definition or a statement what actually reading is. Okay, it is a cognitive process. Okay, it is purely a cognitive process, students, which is helpful for decoding symbols. If I start reading, see, just now I am reading the slide. Okay, I have downloaded a slide as to discuss with you. I'm just reading. So what is that reading is? It is a cognitive process. Okay, it is a cognitive process of decoding symbols. I know decoding system in the language of English. So even I am well versed with that. I exercise that so that I can decode the symbols in the symbols of the language in a proper form. Even you two students. So decoding symbols to derive for what? To derive meaning from the text. There should be a meaning based on the statements that I'm reading. So as in reading a book or reading music. So there are three important components which you need to focus students in understanding what actually reading is. As I would like to repeat again, reading is a cognitive process of decoding symbols. It is a cognitive process of decoding symbols to get meaning of what is actually written or actually explained in the context of text. Okay, so there are three components which are supposed to be understood before understanding what is reading. One is decoding, second one is comprehension, and third one is retention, not attention. Retention, not taking tension again and again. Retention is some form of psychological emotion which is supposed to be followed for better understanding. Okay, what these are, let's see. First, let us see what is decoding. Even it is there in the statement. It is a cognitive process of decoding symbols. Then what is decoding? Decoding is what? Decoding refers to the process of translating a printed word into a sound. Like that, what I'm doing now. I'm just reading the printed word as to make you audible. Am I right? So this process of activity is to be known as decoding. Right now, I'm decoding. I'm just reading the words in the form of sounds by producing sounds. You are all listening to me because I am producing the sounds. I'm not just I'm not doing the lip sync, but I am reading the words. Along with that, I am reproducing some sort of sound which is required for production of that sound. So that process itself is known as decoding, students. So decoding again involves two skills in its. One is identification skill and word attack skill, which is supposed to be understood in the better form. The second important component for understanding the reading ability student is comprehension. What does it mean? It is very, very essential for every one of us to better understand the concept. Comprehension. Comprehension. It is defined as the level of understanding of the text or message, the way how I adopted my mind to understand the context or the text material or the message that I am actually reading. When I used to send a message in a group to the class, you will understand that or you will comprehend. So it is the level of understanding. So today I have sent you a message that by this particular time schedule I am going to take an online class. You have understood. So it is defined as the level of understanding of a text, and according to that only you have joined. So that is what comprehension. So comprehension will possible only when reading is to be done in a sequential form, in a systematic form. So to better reading, we must comprehend the information. This understanding comes from the interaction between the words that are written and how they trigger knowledge outside the text. So we will not only get the information which is written, but even how they actually wish to convey the knowledge outside from the textbook. That also will come to know students through the help of comprehension. So for better understanding, it is the next level of understanding students as for comprehension is considered, which is equally important for reading ability. By reading, we will comprehend a lot many information. By reading a story, we'll come to know what is there in the story. By reading some of the books, we'll come to know what is there in the book. By reading some of the grammar element, we'll come to know what is there in the grammar element, like that. So comprehension usually relies on mastery of decoding. It depends upon how we decode the information. What is decoding? Reading the text in the form of sound. So comprehension usually relies on mastery of decoding. Children who struggle to decode at the initial stage find it difficult to understand and remember what has been read. So if you wish to get complete proficiency in the form of comprehension, first what you need to develop is the ability of decoding. If you fail to decode the information in a very systematic form, there are chances of not understanding or not comprehending the information in a systematic form. So because the students' efforts grasp individual words are so exhausting, they have a very little energy left for understanding. So that is what comprehension students. Now, the third one, as I told, the third important element is retention students. Retention. What is the retention? Retention is the condition of retaining, means keeping something, retaining, keeping it again and again, or keeping for some period of time, for a particular period of time. It is like a depositing some information. Okay, the condition of retaining or keeping something. It could be the short-term memory or it may be in the long-term memory. Either it may be STM or it may be a long-term memory. We do remember our name, which is retained in the long-term memory. Whenever we were asked, we will definitely give the correct answer as what is our name. But there are some issues, okay, which are kept in short memory. Okay, so friend's name, friend's mobile numbers, friend's vehicle number, but our vehicle number, our passwords we know. So that is what short-term memory retention. Either it may be short-term or it may be of long-term. Retaining something. So how come retention is helpful or it is considered as one of the important component of reading skill? the ability to retain, which relies heavily on child's decoding proficiency as well as ability to comprehend what is read. So from that point of view, students, there is a need of understanding what I can say, reading skill students. Next, the thing we need to understand is, so ultimately, what is reading? There is a statement which is given in Merriam-Webster dictionary. What is reading? Reading is a particular interpretation of something. So what it can be called as, sorry for the disturbance. Yes. Reading is to be known as a particular interpretation of something. How a person interpret something what he read is known as reading ability, students. So based on the aspects that we have discussed right now, okay, or you can say till now, you can say what reading is. To summarize what reading ability is, you can say, students, it is a skill which enable us to get a message. So through the help of which we can get some message, to get a clear idea about what we are going to get or what we are going to understand. So from that point of view, reading is good. Reading is essential. Reading is somewhat helpful in that way. Next is, it is helpful in recognizing the written words. Like say for example, I am showing you a slide, okay, which is started with reading skill. Reading means like that I am reading. So it is helpful in recognizing the written words. So if I know how to read, then only I can read it. It is helping me to read the words as well as to produce the sounds. That is also possible with the help of reading, students. Next is getting the meaning. If I wish to understand what does it mean, what do you mean by interpretation, what do you mean by something, what do you mean by mean, what do you mean by reading, like that. So if I wish to get the clear idea, or if I wish to get the understanding as far as content is considered, students, that is to be known as reading, students. Then it is used to teach pronunciation. If I come to know the familiar information about how the word is pronounced as, so somewhat it is helpful for the development of pronunciation. So while reading only, I will come to know how that word is to be read, isn't it? So from that point of view, we can improve the pronunciation also to the help of reading skill, students. Next is to grasp the information from the text. When we used to read paragraph, 1 page, 2 page, or a complete poem, here what happens? We used to understand a lot many aspects, students. So by doing that, we can get a lot many information too, students. Next is, okay, so why we read, or why do we read? If you pose this question to yourself, what will be the answer for this? We read for pleasure, we read for information. This is the statements which were used by most of the literary figures. But if I ask the same question to the students, why do you read? What will be your answer? Can anybody tell? Why do you read as an individual learner? ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದಾ? ನೀವು ಎದಕ್ಕೆ ಓದ್ತೀರಿ? Why do you read? Do you read for pleasure, or do you read for information, or one more option? The purposefully have not given that option. Why do you read? ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದಾ? Yes, you people used to read. I won't say that it is completely agreed, but most of the students used to read. Some students definitely read for some content, for the pleasure purpose, or to get the information. But most of the students used to read for the purpose of examination. If there will be no examination, nobody will read. Okay, so whatever the reason it may be, but for the process of understanding some concept or to get some information, we must read the content. Now let us talk about some of the various aspects of reading skill, students. First, let me talk about silent reading and loud reading in the form of English. I think you heard these names, right? Silent reading and loud reading. What does these two terminologies stands for? How important they are as per the process of learning a language is considered. We have different category students in the form of reading ability. For development, we have different forms of reading skill. For adoption of good reading ability, we have different elements like we have silent reading and loud reading. We have intensive reading and we have extensive reading. We have skimming, we have scanning and skimming students. Like that, we have different forms of reading ability. Whatever the reason is, or for whatever reason we have for reading ability, but basically we started reading a skill or we started practicing reading ability. It may be in any language, students. Either it may be Kannada or English, Hindi, Marathi, Urdu, Telugu, Tamil, or it may be any language of the world. So we started reading sometimes silently, and even we practiced reading in loud form. Okay, or reading aloud, we can say. So what does they mean? Okay, what is the importance of those type of reading? Let's see, students. First, let us try to understand what is silent reading. I think you all are familiar because you came to know about what is the significance of lesson teaching. Okay, in lesson teaching, how you allow your learners to read silently as to get answer for some of the questions that you post, or you are going to ask in the form of certain questions. So what is silent reading? It is the reading ability where a person read it silently. That's it, literal meaning of the word or literal meaning of the term which is used. In silent reading, there is no movement of the lips and the tongue. Then how it is possible? Usually it is possible in the form of loud reading. So if I am reading something in front of you, or if I am speaking something, I used to use my lips as well as tongue. But as per silent reading is considered, there is no movement of lips as well as tongue. Means it is the form of internal ability in everyone's personality where we used to practice it or where do we use it. But there should be a full concentration as per loud reading is considered. But in loud reading, there is a major possibility or there is a major concern towards how I produce the sound by reading. How do I make the movement of my lips? Both matters. But where in silent reading will enhance the concentration of a person towards the better comprehension, students. Sometimes we need to have this type of reading ability too among our learners. So both are equally important, students. Both are equally important. So if you wish to develop the good concentration level among the learners, you must teach your learners to practice silent reading. It depends upon the condition or the situation or the interest of the learner, that how he or she is motivated towards reading. If they are very much interested in reading silently, then you can enhance, you can allow, you can give an opportunity for them to read it silently. If they are not, you can allow them to go for extensive, sorry, not extensive or loud reading students. It depends upon the condition of the learner. It depends upon the mentality of the learner. It depends upon the maturity level of the learners. It depends upon the interest, moods, or desires of the learner students. Which is good, which is bad, that is not the issue. First, as a learner of a language, what we need to focus is what is silent reading. It is nothing but concentration, and the thoughts should not wander aimlessly while they are reading silently. While loud reading, there may be possibility of turning my emotions to some other directions. Okay, aimlessly I may wander as per my reading ability, unknowingly or unknowingly, directly or indirectly, formally or informally. There may be the possibility of changing my moods or desires or my swing of emotions towards the other direction, students. But in silent reading, as I was very much concentrated, I may be very much concentrating on the topic that I'm reading, students, and not have that kind of distraction, students. So Understanding this is somewhat good for the development of language is considered. Next is silent reading. As I am repeatedly saying, silent reading provides the opportunity to learn the meanings of many new words in the context which were presented. If suppose silent reading is supposed to provide lot many information for every learner, so definitely there are some possibility for the learner to enhance their knowledge too. Because while reading silently, we focus more on the words rather than of any other external forces students. So in that connection, we can say that how important silent reading is. It provides the opportunity to learn the meanings of many new words in the context that we are actually trying to understand. Okay. So what precautions need to be followed for silent reading students? Only those passages should be read which can be understood and appreciated by the students. It should have to be given. The content which is supposed to be followed as a form of silent reading is which is according to my mental status. I cannot read the high version language if I am unable to understand it. So the content which is easily understood or easily understandable or which will be appreciated by the students, such passages should have to be given for silent reading activity students, for your students I'm talking. Next is the duration of the silent reading should be differ according to the nature of the matter and the standard of the class. If you are giving silent reading for nursery, if you are giving silent reading for 10th, if you are giving silent reading for 8th standard, you must understand their abilities, nature of understanding, standard of the class, mental age, chronicle age, their efficiencies, everything should have to be given. If you are giving 10 minutes for a silent reading to nursery, 5 minutes for 5th standard, 2 minutes for 10th standard is okay, because comparatively, age wise, maturity wise, knowledge wise, they are too good comparing to the previous classes, so that can be considered while giving the silent reading. The weak student should be paid more attention in silent reading because there may be the chances of escaping some difficult words. So we have some demerit in silent reading because in loud reading I will come to know how that person is reading, but in silent reading it will not, because I don't know if he is saying yes, yes, sir, I have read. We may say yes, but we must consider the weak students if they are not performing. It is difficult to identify whether they are reading it correctly or not, but altogether when you come to know these are the weak students, for those weak students we have to give proper concentration. So the paragraph for reading should be not too long, students. Okay. Next is the necessary instructions must be given before silent reading to the students. Whatever the instructions which are required for the students, those type of instructions should have to be given to the needy students as per silent reading is supposed to be given to the learners. Next point, precaution that need to be understood or followed by a teacher in the classroom is the teacher should be very, very particular about giving students tasks of wide reading by gradually selecting fresh and unseen paragraph. Don't try to give the same content which is there for the syllabus students. Okay, try to give such interesting issues and the topics to the students so that they can read it for the pleasure. Okay, we should have to start that form of competencies among the learner as per reading skill is considered from the beginning only. You cannot make the changes in the elders as per reading skills are considered, students. So from beginning only, if you have the habit of developing these kind of activities, so they will enjoy, students. Next is, what are the advantages of reading skill? Definitely it saves times because it is very quick. It will not take much attention as per loud reading is considered, students. It saves energy also because we are not giving much stress for reading. If I wish to read it loudly, I may stress much, whereas I may not as per silent reading is considered. It initiates self-education as well as deep study to everybody. I must know what I am. Nobody will come and teach me that how I used to read. So self-education, self-motivation, self-learning, self-introspection is possible in this ability. Nobody can certify you. Okay, it develops the ability to read with very much interest. If whatever I am doing, if I am doing it my own, if I am very much interested in doing that work, definitely that will create a lot many interest. So according to Ryburn, silent reading enables attention as well as energy to be concentrated on meaning, and so saves the division of resulting in a greater assimilation of information. Now, if you talk about some of the limitations of the silent reading students, it is not advantageous for beginners. It is not good for the beginners, means the one where you have started teaching the English language for the first time. If it is not the mother tongue or it is not a native language, like if you started teaching English in Karnataka for third standard, fifth standard, first standard, for such students, silent reading at the initial stage is very dangerous because they may skip difficult words. They used to say that as sir I have read, but if you don't know how they are reading, it is dangerous. So it is not advantageous for the beginners. It is good for the learners who are very well matured in the process of reading ability. It is also uninteresting. It will not create interest because everyone do reading individually, so that nobody will supervise. If there will be no supervision, we used to say that we aram se we shall do it, no issues. Nobody will supervise, nobody will evaluate me, so that I used to say I read everything. So it is not, it will become uninteresting. Sometimes students cannot understand some parts of the passage, but they cannot take the help of the teachers in silent reading. But in loud reading, there may be the chances of taking help of the teachers. The mistakes done by the students during silent reading cannot be corrected. It does not teach correct the form of pronunciation to students because I am reading it according to my own way. Okay, I may pronounce the word wrongly, but there is no option for the teacher or subordinates to correct me because they don't know how I am reading. So that is one of the drawback of this skill students. Next is, it cannot be checked if the students are really reading. Are they reading? We may only say, now I used to think that you are all listening to me, but I am not sure whether you are listening attentively or not. It depends because I can't see you, isn't it? There may be the chances of just joining the class and you may be busy with your own work, isn't it? So we have limitations for online teaching also, like that. We have some these drawbacks over here. Now let me stop here, and the next part will be studied later.